Okay, choosing a thesis topic is something that happens right at the beginning of your research journey. And yet it's such an enormous decision that's going to inform everything that happens after that. If you get the research topic wrong, you're going to feel like you're stuck in this topic that you don't want for the rest of your thesis experience. And if you get it right, then it's going to make your thesis experience so much easier. But unfortunately, you're making this decision right at the beginning of your thesis journey where you have not very much knowledge at your hands. The things I'm going to talk about today are issues that I personally faced 15 years ago when I was writing my PhD thesis, and they're issues that I talk about with my research students at our very first supervision meeting when we're talking about coming up with a research topic. Some of these issues are all about getting your expectations right so that you know what you should be doing when choosing a topic. And some of these issues are actually quite relieving. And once you've got these answers to these burning questions that have been probably sitting in your head, you can breathe a sigh of relief and go, okay, I can choose a topic now without all that stress that's sitting on the top of my shoulders. So let's jump into the slides and talk about the first thing you need to know about choosing a research topic. Okay, our first issue is this sense from most students that they need a very unique topic and they need to be able to carve out that uniqueness from the very first supervision meeting. The truth of the matter is you should probably be choosing at the beginning a topic that isn't unique. Choose a higher order topic that is something that you're just interested in. You'll be able to create uniqueness or a research gap as you go through the process. So all my students who come to me and they say, well, everything's been studied. Every single thing that I can think of has been researched in the past. That's fine. Choose a topic that is something that you're interested in. We can deal with identifying a research gap later on. It's always possible to find a research gap. And I've got videos on this channel that show you how to go about doing that. Quick interruption from me in the future. When I was editing the video, I realized I forgot to mention that I have a bunch of resources for coming up with a research idea in the link in the description. That includes 7 fast and easy thesis ideas, 15 real research questions that have fill-in-the-blank templates that you can use for yourself, and an AI prompt for identifying a research gap within your topic. So grab them all through the link in the description, and back to the video. The next question students ask, or the worry they have when they approach me, is the sense that they need to create a research project that is revolutionary, that is going to change the world. And I can understand that. Like there are famous philosophers out there like Michel Foucault, whose PhD thesis was their opus. It was the biggest thing they ever did in their life. And right now, at this stage of your journey, you're probably thinking the same thing. You're probably thinking, this is the biggest thing I'm ever going to do in my whole life. This is a PhD thesis or a master's thesis, for goodness sake. It needs to be this baby that I've got to carry into the world. And true, it is a massive thing that you go about doing, but the truth of the matter is that you are not going to change the world with your thesis. Your thesis, no matter what level it is, whether it's honors, masters, PhD level, is supposed to be training in how to conduct research. It's not supposed to be a thing that wins you a Nobel Prize. So relieve yourself of that sense that you need uniqueness, and relieve yourself of that sense that you need to come up with a topic that's going to be really genuinely changing the world in some significant way. Instead, all you need to do for your thesis, and your life will be so much easier if you do this, is to carve out just a little research gap somewhere, a little space where you can become the expert in that tiny little space, rather than thinking that you need to create some sort of a thesis that changes the world and wins a Nobel Prize. If you're the sort of person who does try to come up with this enormous thesis idea that you think is going to change the world, chances are you're going to create an absolute beast of a thesis that's going to take you 10 years to complete, because every thesis grows and grows and grows and becomes bigger and more complex as time goes by. So at the start, we want to choose something that's just small and easy to manage. And as time goes by, you'll notice that it grows and grows and grows. And even those small topics end up becoming quite large and hard to manage. So start out small and progress from there. The next tip is around intrinsic motivation. Right now, try to find a topic, not because there's a research gap that you can identify or because you've got friends or parents or external influences telling you what you should be studying. Choose a topic that is genuinely interesting to you, that is motivating to you, that you want to learn about and read about every single day. That will make your life so much easier throughout this research process. Because if you choose a topic that you don't particularly love, you're going to be thinking about that topic the first thing when you wake up and the last thing before you go to bed for the next few years probably. Make sure it's a topic that at least you are interested in. Next tip, when choosing a research topic, don't confine yourself just to, well, I'm a qualitative thesis advisor, so I'm talking qualitative here. Don't confine yourself just to saying, I'm going to do interviews or focus groups or observations. Consider also examining texts as data. For example, media analysis, policy analysis, curriculum analysis. These sorts of texts as data studies are still primary studies because the texts are primary data that you're analyzing, but it makes your research process a lot easier as you go through because there's less hurdles to jump in terms of ethics, and there's less hurdles to jump into terms of herding together people to conduct interviews with them or to get permission to enter a field in order to conduct observations. This difficulty that we face when we're working with research participants adds a lot of complexity to a research project. So if you're thinking, look, I just want to do a project that gets me to the finish line as fast as possible and is straightforward, text as data can be a really, really valuable way to do that. And it's really fun. Curriculum analysis, data analysis, those sorts of studies can be really enjoyable. So open your mind, broaden your mind to other research data sets, not just human research participants. Okay, trusting your advisor. The process of going through a thesis it's almost like there's gatekeepers everywhere trying to prevent you from succeeding. And your thesis advisor is your guide who's holding your hand and helping you walk your way up that mountain and avoid all of these gatekeepers, or at least get through and get past all of these gatekeepers who are going to be trying to prevent you from getting your PhD or your master's degree at the end of this research process. Your advisor has seen where all of the traps are and is going to help you avoid those traps. So trusting your advisor as much as possible. Lastly, I said at the very beginning about research gaps and how you probably should choose a topic without considering what the research gap is, because a research gap will emerge over time. Watch this video next to identify how to find a research gap really easily, even in very crowded topic areas.